amigos from
Puerto, Vallarta.
Today we are talking all about some tips and tricks that you should know before moving to Mexico.
Before we get started, I just want to say a special thank you to all of you, everybody that watches, comments, supports us on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Your comments, your views, your likes, your Patreon patronage really helps us explore Mexico and share Mexico with the world. So thank you. Let's jump into this. Okay, number one, and possibly most important of the entire list, is to be adaptable and to not bring your American / Canadian / US citizen way of doing things to Mexico.
Yeah, I think things work a little differently here, and if you're coming with the expectations that things are going to work here how they do in your hometown, especially if your hometown was anything like Dallas, Texas, or any metropolitan conservative town like that in the States or Canada or France or Poland, things are very different here. So I think coming with an open mind and open heart and really being adaptable to change, because there's going to be radical changes in your life. However, I think they're for the better.
Most definitely for the better. Along with adapting to the change, I think it's very important. I know it's very important to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it has taken us, we've been in Mexico now almost 2 years. It's taken us a lot longer than it should have to ask for help, to ask for directions, to walk into the market confidently and say, look, we don't know how this works. Yeah. This is our first time in Mexico. This is our first time in a market in your best broken Spanish. I think being uncomfortable and putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions has really allowed us to assimilate better in the best possible way that we can into the Mexican way of living. And I think being uncomfortable and forcing yourself to be uncomfortable is a lifelong journey for all of us. But the sooner you can do that, especially in Mexico, the more comfortable change you're in for.
I think where a lot of people maybe go wrong, if you are, ourselves included, is you move to Mexico and that is a huge leap out of your comfort zone, and you kind of stop there. You feel
your uncomfortable
okay.
Tank is full already.
Yes, then you don't speak Spanish, you don't really meet anybody, you don't try new foods, and you just kind of go about your daily life like you used to wherever you came from before. So I think it's important to just once you jump out of your comfort zone, just keep jumping.
Yeah, and I think too, seeking that has proved positive for us. So we'll find the busiest taco stand, ask what their specialty is. So I think seeking discomfort is a huge step.
Now, along with being uncomfortable, one thing that I think has added to our enjoyment of living in Mexico probably the most is learning and living the language, learning and living Spanish.
Yeah, I think these all sort of go together in terms of being uncomfortable, seeking situations that are uncomfortable, and being able to adapt. And a huge part of that in Mexico is obviously the language. Now, are there cities where you'll be fine getting away with English? Absolutely. But are you going to be able to confidently approach a taco stand or a market or ask for directions if you only speak English? Probably not as well. And again, I think that's something, learn from our mistakes. When we first came here, I knew very, very little Spanish. Greg knew a little bit more than I did, but that was something that would have gone a long way, I think, for the both of us in our confidence and in our adaptability.
And moreover, I think not only does it add in your ability to easily transition into life here in Mexico, I think it just makes life more fun whenever you can interact with more people, you can understand the jokes, you can kind of get some of the subtleties of the culture, of the language. Yeah. I think it's just a lot more fun.
Yeah, you could become friends with restaurant owners. We joined a gym where no one spoke English, so I think learning Spanish should definitely be a priority.
One of the more practical tips we have is to do not live your life in dollars / Canadian dollars or wherever you come from. Live in pesos.
Yeah, again, I think learn from our mistakes. When we first moved to Mexico, unfortunately, I still had a job in the United States, so I was paid in US dollars and then would always convert those in my mind. And I think, again, the easier your brain can think 100% in Spanish and think in pesos, the easier that transition will be. And again, in terms of paying for things, it just makes more sense the faster you can think in pesos.
And I think you'll save yourself a lot of money. If anybody's offering you something in dollars, go the other way. Yeah, it's just probably not
Step away.
It's probably not a good price. And I think things in dollars, You know, if I think, okay, well, that's $2 for a taco, that sounds pretty good, it sounds reasonable, because in the States that would be if it's a good taco, but here you're way overpaying if it's $2, unless it's just a huge taco. I don't know, we've never paid $2 for a taco, so think and live in pesos. Another one that's very important, depending on your age and health situation, is to evaluate the elevation, terrain, salud, evaluate the elevation, terrain, and street conditions in the city that you are looking to live in.
Yeah, I think tons of people, obviously, the number one search is going to be safety, cost of living, and weather. And while weather is a step in the right direction, I think taking that a step further, checking out the elevation, like Greg said, the conditions of the streets, things like that, because speaking of, San Miguel is the first one that comes into mind. San Miguel de Allende, a beautiful city, ranked #1 for the second year in a row, places to visit in the world, and I think tons of retirees are flocking to San Miguel de Allende, and after visiting there a few times, the streets are not meant for people with bad knees, bad legs, bad backs. The streets are hard to navigate, very bumpy, not the best sidewalks. Also here in Vallarta, there are some streets, the cobblestone streets aren't necessarily forgiving. Guanajuato has tons of hills, so I think it's important to check out the terrain in addition to the climate.
Yeah, I think, you know, for a lot of people it's just fine, and if you live there and you have good knees, you'll probably continue to have good knees because you get used to walking on it and moving in directions and ways that your body may not have moved before. But I would hate to move somewhere then find out that you literally can't walk to the store.
Not the bee's knees.
Okay, that was really bad.
Sorry.
Going along with that one is to visit several locations or cities before you decide where to buy. Now that goes with cities within Mexico and also neighborhoods within the particular city that you want to live.
Yeah, no, my disclaimer for this is we absolutely adore Vallarta. We are back. We have been gone 10 months since we last lived here. We're back for a visit, so let me start with this disclaimer. We love Vallarta. It is perhaps the most special place in the world to us specifically. I am glad we did not choose to settle in Vallarta because there is much more to Mexico, which started this whole love affair with Mexico. There's so much more to Mexico than the first city you visit. I feel like the first city everyone visits has a special place in their heart, but I think the more we travel and discover Mexico, the more open your eyes will be. So don't buy or rent long-term in the first place you visit in Mexico. Do your shopping, visit a few different towns, and even more so within that, I think in Vallarta, especially in a 10-block radius here in the El Centro area, every neighborhood is so vastly different.
Every street, every
from the
block.
vibes, to the people, to the restaurants, to the cost of living. Things like that varies so greatly. So once you decide on a city, spend some time in that city, wandering around the different neighborhoods before you lock yourself in.
Rent in different areas of the city, get to know the different spots. Yeah, like Hillary said, really spend some time because they are all so different, and it's okay, it's fine. If Vallarta is the place for you, I can't disagree with that. If it's the first place you've been, then you travel through Mexico and you come back and stay here, hey, no, or even if you don't, it's Vallarta is a great place, or Guanajuato, wherever you end up is a great place. I think if you don't travel to at least 2 or 3 different cities, you are doing yourself a disservice.
I agree.
And last but not least, this one has taken us a while to kind of understand, to grasp, is that things here in Mexico, especially in smaller towns, just work better in person. Meaning they don't work as well online. It's harder to research places, ideas, and things, to how things work online.
Yeah, I think now Greg and I are not big planners, but I know that hundreds of you are, because we get hundreds of emails, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, comments, asking very specific questions about specific towns, and we are happy to answer those.
That's what we're here for.
We don't know, we have so much of Mexico that we don't know, but what we do know is how to get you in touch with the right person if we don't have the answers. Now, that said, before we ever traveled to Mexico, I tried to do some digging for best restaurants or cost of living. How do you get water? Things like that. Can you drink the water? All of those things are so hard online. Things work differently here. This is part of the adapting process, and I think you know, it led me down rabbit holes that had no real answers. I think once your feet are on the ground, it's so much easier to plan once you're here. the water website, the water place, for example, has no website. You're gonna have to go in, ask them when they'll deliver water to you. The lavanderias don't have a website. They may not appear on Google Maps. You'll need to go in, check the prices with the manager, probably owner, in there. So I think don't over plan.
Yeah.
I know that's hard for you because I know moving to Mexico is a giant step and you want to make sure you have every detail worked out. But what we have found is things work differently here. Things work best in person with your feet on the ground. Again, that is what we're here for. We are your feet on the ground.
Yes.
So email us with any questions. We'd be happy to run around town and figure out all those things in person for you if that's what we need to do.
And I think that really ties it all together in terms of just being adaptable, being ready to accept change, just relájate, amigos, or amigo, just relax. It's gonna be okay. You'll find the best food. You'll find a maid, or you'll find the lavanderia just by walking around and talking to people, and that's where it all of these kind of work with together. Because if you don't learn the language, and like finding
the lavanderia is going to be harder. Finding a good person to clean your home, not using word of mouth, is going to be exponentially harder. Same with pesos and sort of all these things we've talked about. All are sort of integrated in a strange way.
Yes. So there's so many more things in it, but I think it all boils down to if you just relax. Life here is it's not all that bad, amigos. I mean, it's just that would be my message. Is although we love you watching our videos for information, is just to come check it out for yourself, and you'll really just figure it out along the way. You're gonna make the same mistakes we make, whether you, I don't know, even if you learn through our videos, you sometimes just have to learn the hard way by yourself. With that said, if we didn't answer anything, or if we kind of touched on something that you want more specific info on, shoot us an email at kinetickennons@gmail.com. We will gladly answer any questions you have. We're by no means experts, but
we know people who are.
But we know people who are, so we'll try our best. I think that's all we have. I am sweating. Speaking of the weather, speaking of the heat, and being adaptable.
We're still working on that.
The humidity here is...
It's about the journey.
The journey to the pizza we're about to eat.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, click the bell, that way you get notified
every time
we upload a new video, and we will see you
mañanita
from
Puerto, Vallarta, Mexico, Mexico, Mexico.